The majority of people will tell you that the reason why they're broke is because their boss is not paying them enough money. But there's one more piece to this puzzle that most people are completely overlooking. I'll show you. This is the progression of money, and yes, I had to break out the big whiteboard for this one. And what you will see is that between 1971 and 2023, something changed when it comes to money. Take a look. Household income in 1971 was about $10,000, $10,290, and this is from the United States Census. In 2023, it was $70,784. That is an increase of about 688%. Then, if you look at car prices between 1971 and 2023, it was $5,000 in 1971. Now, if you want to buy a new car, it's selling for about $42,000. That is an increase of 840%. Now, if you look at home prices, 1971, $30,000. 2023, median home, $484,000. That is an increase of 1,600%. Now, if you look at college prices, four-year tuition in 1971 was $400. 2023, you're looking at around $9,300. That's an increase of 2,300%. So what you'll see is the household income has grown almost 700%, but that has not kept up with the growth of things like your car, your house, and your college. So the things that you need to buy have grown faster than your incomes. And here's the kicker. In 1971, household income was primarily determined by one person's income. Now, 2023, household income is primarily determined by two people's incomes, because in 1971, you generally had one person go to work and one person stay at home. But now the question is, let's fast forward from 2023 to 2073, and what's going to happen between now and then? Because if we project forward now, this is where things start to get a little bit scary, and we apply these same percentages from these numbers to here, what does that look like? Well, let's take a look. A 688% increase in household income would mean that household income would grow to $486,993. An 840% increase in car prices would mean that now a car would cost you $352,000. A 1,600% increase in median home prices would mean that home prices would grow to $7.7 million. And then an additional 2,300% increase in college tuition prices would mean that college prices would grow from $9,300 to $213,000 a year. Now, of course, all of this is a huge question mark. We have absolutely no idea at what rate home prices are going to grow, car prices are going to grow, tuition prices are going to grow. But what we need to understand here, the key that I want you to understand, is not these numbers. It's not what this number is going to be. It's understanding this. Understanding that the rates at which car prices are growing, the rate at which home prices are growing, and the rates at which tuition prices and other prices of things are growing relative to incomes, how is that moving? Because what we have seen happen over the last number of decades, and what it seems like will continue to happen, is that the prices of things have been growing faster than incomes. Now, how fast will these things grow relative to here? That's going to vary. If we were to see a slowdown in the economy, home prices could potentially fall. Car prices could potentially fall for a little while. We could see the prices of things fall, but generally, if we continue to see hot inflation, what that means is that the prices of things grow faster than incomes. Now, does that mean that everything grows linearly at a certain percentage? No, absolutely not. Even home prices over the last number of decades didn't go straight up. We've seen a number of housing market crashes over the last 5 decades. But over the long term, what we have seen is that the prices of things have been growing faster than incomes. And what this means for you is it is becoming exponentially more important for people to become financially educated, because if you do not become financially educated, you're following the system. Hey, most people have 2 incomes now working to support the family. Yet now these 2 incomes are struggling to buy a car. They're struggling to buy a home. They're struggling to pay for college and struggling to put money aside for retirement versus, hey, your parents' or grandparents' generation was able to do the exact same thing with 1 income, but now also buy all these things and also have a nice retirement and also have some money to put aside. What's the difference? And the difference is money, because our money has changed over the last number of years, and I'll actually show you why. Now, my goal with this video, I'll be fully transparent with you, is to help you try to fix this problem. Not on a broad, systemic, nationwide thing, because that's way beyond my expertise, but in your household. What can you do with your money? How can you protect yourself financially to win in this financial game? Because most people are playing the game of money without understanding how money really works and how it's changing. And in order to understand that, you have to go a little bit back in time to understand how money started to change. And there are two things you want to understand, or 2 years you want to understand. First is 1913, and the second is 1971. In 1913, that was when we really started to see the first change of money, not just because the income tax really became a very common thing when it went into our Constitution, when the federal income tax was ratified into law, but another thing happened in 1913, which you need to understand, and that thing is that the Federal Reserve Bank was enacted. Now, while it's called the Federal Reserve Bank, it's not federal. It even says so on their website. They're not a reserve because they don't keep any cash reserves, and they're not a bank. You and I can't go there to deposit money. So what is the Federal Reserve Bank? The Federal Reserve Bank is the central bank here in the United States, and what they have the ability to do is control the monetary policy and system, meaning they control money, meaning they have the ability to increase and decrease interest rates, and they have the ability to essentially print money. However, in 1913, during this time, our money, or what we call money, was backed by physical gold. So if you wanted to print more money, you needed more wealth in the United States. And that was when things started to change in 1971, because then the United States had a lot of debts. President Richard Nixon was the president of the United States, and a lot of countries around the world were getting worried about the health of the United States. They were getting worried about the dollar. They were getting worried about their economy. So all these countries were now calling in their debts, meaning they were calling in money, which meant they were calling in their gold. And so we started to see the gold levels start to decrease in the United States, and that was when President Richard Nixon severed the ties between the United States dollar and physical gold temporarily.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets.
Now, it's no surprise that here we are today and the temporary program has not come to an end. However, the impacts of that program are still here today, because now if money is no longer tied to gold, that means our money, or what we call money, is just pieces of paper. Now, if the Federal Reserve Bank has the ability to control our monetary supply, that means another thing that they have the ability to do is essentially print what we call money. Now, if they have the ability to print what we call money and it's not backed by any precious metal like physical gold, what's stopping them from printing an unlimited amount of money? And there's really nothing now stopping them from printing more and more money. But there has to be an impact of that, right? There has to be some sort of consequence to that, because if the Federal Reserve Bank can just print unlimited amounts of money, why do we have to pay taxes in the first place? I mean, they can just print money out of thin air and pay for our taxes. And there is a cost to that. And the cost now to printing unlimited amounts of money is, well, inflation. Now, there's a lot of different definitions of inflation floating around out there, but if we go to the core, what is inflation? Inflation comes from the word inflate, and what you're inflating is the monetary supply. So now when you increase the monetary supply, when you increase the amount of dollars out there, the value of each individual dollar goes down, causing then the price of things to go up. And the reason why the price of things are going up is not because the value of each individual item is going up, but rather the cost to purchase the item with your currency, your paper dollars, now is going up, because you need more dollars to justify the devaluation of each individual piece of currency, that dollar. So now that means that we live in an economic system where more money is being created. If more money is being created, the value of our dollar is going down, causing the price of things to go up. And what we've been seeing happen for the last number of decades is that the prices of things are rising faster than incomes. And so now, if we are continuing to see the prices of things rise faster than incomes, how do you win? Well, let me clear this off and show you. This is where now your financial education becomes so important, because the people that understand money are going to be able to win in this system, and the people that don't understand money, well, they're the ones that pay the price. And if you do want to learn more beyond this video, I want to let you know that we have a free ebook at Briefs Media that my team created called How to Build Wealth as an Investor. It's completely free, but this ebook is really cool because there's a ton of information here, starting with the basics of how do you build a wealthy mindset, to how do you save your first couple $1,000s. And then we go into things like how do you start investing, different ways to start investing, how do you generate cash flow, how do you spend your money smartly, how can you potentially earn more money, and how do you protect your assets. So there's a ton of value in this ebook. It's completely free. If you want to get a copy of this ebook, all you got to do is click the link down in the description below, or you can go to briefs.co/ebook. That's briefs.co/ebook. And now let's jump into this. Our economic system is made up of three different players. You have the businesses. These are the entrepreneurs that are going out and starting businesses. You have the investors that are investing in and owning a piece of the businesses. And then you have the consumers. Everybody is a consumer. Rich people, middle class people, poor people, everybody is a consumer because everybody has to eat, everybody needs a place to live, everybody needs to buy things, so everybody is a consumer. Well, now let's play the system out. Consumers go out and they spend money in businesses, and when they spend money in businesses, yes, the entrepreneur benefits, but so does the investor, because when businesses make more money, the investors make more money. But now let's go back a little bit to the things that I was just talking about. Our economic system is designed to create inflation. Inflation has been a hot topic since the pandemic, but inflation didn't start during the pandemic. It started many decades before the pandemic. So now, if our economic system is designed to create inflation, because remember, we have the Federal Reserve Bank, who has the ability to print money. They're printing money because the government keeps spending money that they don't have. And, well, there's no limit to how much money that they can print because our currency or our money is not backed by any precious metals or anything else. So there is the ability to print more and more money. So now, if our system has the ability to produce more inflation, well, what does that mean? Inflation means now, hopefully, that people are going to get a raise. Like we have seen household incomes rise, although it's not as fast as the price of things, but household incomes have gone up, which means spending ability has gone up. So now if consumers have more ability to spend, that's great. Now you can buy more things, or so you think. The price of things keep rising. But now if businesses start to get more dollars because the price of things go up, that means businesses are benefiting more because now more dollars are going to the businesses, which also means now that investors are growing as well. And that's why you've seen asset prices rise faster than incomes. And this is one of the reasons why you keep hearing of this growing wealth gap. It's not because just people are making more money, it's because people own more assets. And asset prices are rising faster than incomes. And so now, if you have seen this growth in the wealth between these people, that means that people need to stop just being consumers and start being investors or entrepreneurs. Now, not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur, not everybody's meant to start a business, but every single person in the United States needs to be a business owner. Again, this does not mean you need to go out and start a company. This does not mean you need to go out and operate a company. This does not mean you need to go out and manage a company, but you need to start taking your money and start owning a piece of the economy. You need to start owning a piece of the businesses. And the way you do that is by taking some of your income and becoming an investor at the very least, because that means now you are putting your money to work as opposed to just spending all of your money, because when you are just a consumer, and most Americans are just consumers. So you can start to see why most people get broker and feel poorer without even understanding why. Even though you think you did everything right, you got a good job, you're trying to live within your means, yet here you are still trying to figure out how do you now start building your own wealth? Because, well, our inflation in this system, thanks to the Federal Reserve Bank, creates this hidden tax called inflation. And I call it a hidden tax because the person who pays the price is the person who does not understand inflation. And if you don't understand inflation, well, now you can understand why it makes the majority of people feel broker without even seeing it happen, because the Federal Reserve Bank wants to have a low enough inflation number that most people don't even see it happen. This is why you hear the Federal Reserve Bank talking about, oh, we would love to see inflation at around 2%. Why 2%? Why not 0%? And the reason why is because they want to continue growing the economic system, because if more inflation happens, more spending can happen, which means more of the business and the investors can grow, which grows the economic system. That's how our economic system works. And so if the goal is to continue growing the economic system, they want to create an inflation level that's just there enough that doesn't create any panic that most people really even notice. But if you look at it over a long enough period of time, that's when you can start to see the impacts of it. But most people are not looking at financial data over a number of decades to see how inflation has impacted their wealth ability. And this is where now it becomes crucially more important for you to become financially educated, because if you want to win in this game, you can do everything right. You can go to school, get good grades, get a good degree, get a good job. But if you don't understand money, it is going to be impossible for you to ever build wealth. And this is where a lot of people say, oh, well, investing is risky. And yes, it is risky. You will probably lose money at some point. That's a part of investing. But the goal is to make way more than you lose, and you can never get to the winnings unless you get started and you get those losses. But now, if you want to be able to invest your money just from a practical perspective, that means now that you can't spend all of your money. And that means now you have to take some of the money that you didn't spend and you have to put it to work. Now, I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritties of how to start investing in this video. You can check out our ebook if you want to learn more about that. But now, if you want to be able to invest, one of the things that can help you with that is earning more money. Because if you have more money coming in, now hopefully you will have more money to invest. And this is where knowing how to manage your money first is important, because the big mistake that a lot of people make, especially in America, is you say, oh, if I just made an extra $10,000 a year, all my financial problems would be solved. And then when you go out and you actually earn that raise, you get that promotion, what ends up happening to a lot of people is you get a better car. You get a nicer home, you go on a nicer vacation, you start buying more things, and now all of a sudden you got that raise, but you're nowhere near where you thought you would be after you got that raise, because now you're even broker than you were before, because now you have more liabilities. And so what you have to understand is the first thing you have to be able to do is, number one, control your spending. You have to be able to manage your money. I have tons of videos on my channel. My ebook goes over that. You have to know how to control your spending. You have to be able to control your money. Once you know how to do that, then the next thing is, okay, I have a system with my money. I know how to invest my money. I'm putting some of my money to work. I like this investing thing. Now, if you want to be able to do more, you got to be able to get more money. Now, how do you get more money? Now, again, this could be straight from your job. You can work to get a raise. You can work to get a promotion. You can work to get a bonus. You can work to start a second job. You can work to get a career change. There's an unlimited number of ways to get that from your career, or you can work to create your own income as well. And I can tell you that nowadays, earning money has become much more accessible than ever before. Is it easier? No. Is it easy? No. But it is much more accessible. And as you start to get through this financial education game, what you will see is that if I invest more money, I will be able to build more wealth. Not rocket science, but what you will see is that you can do that. Now, if you want to be able to attract more money, you have to find what is the right path for you. For some of you, it is going to be from your job. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why people on the internet make it seem like being an employee is a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with being an employee. I'm an employee at my own company. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to understand how you can also grow your income. And maybe that means outside of your job, maybe that means in your job, but at the very least, you have to. Every single person has to be an investor. And if you are not an investor yet, this is the time for you to work on that financial education, to work on putting that money aside. That way you can become an investor, because over the next 5 decades, it is going to be exponentially more important. It is going to become exponentially more valuable. Because if you think we're going to go back to what life was like in 1971, where one income household was enough to support the family and save for retirement and have your financial freedom, well, I'm sorry to break it to you, but that's not how it's going to work. And who knows what life is going to be like in 5 years? We don't know what the next 5 decades or 5 years are going to look like with inflation. The Federal Reserve Bank has predictions. No one really knows. But what we do know is that that financial education can protect you, and it can help guide you, and it can help you live your life the way you want. Because if you keep relying on everybody else to take care of you, you become you're in their mercy, and you kind of become their slave, and nobody wants to do that. And this is where it is so important for you to, again, I know I'm rambling here, build that financial education, start investing, and then work to earn more money so you have more money to invest. That is the real secret to breaking out of this financial system. And I'm telling you this so passionately because I wish somebody would have told me this. I went through that same thing. I went to school, I went to college, I went to law school, and I never once learned a thing about money. Never once learned a thing about investing. Never once learned a thing about passive income or cash flow or building wealth or retirement planning. No one ever told me these things. I had to go out and learn it my own. I was fortunate that I was able to learn this early because of things that I started doing, my own entrepreneurial ventures. But this is really the way that the average person now can go out and start building their own wealth, is by understanding money, working to invest their money, and then working to increase the income. That way you can have more assets, period. We talk about building a business that's scalable. I've talked about that many times, where you want to build something that can grow, that doesn't necessarily need you. That's the definition of scalability, that it can grow and it doesn't necessarily need you to grow. But if you want that business to be able to grow and not need you to grow, you have to do things that can't grow. The